A story of love, loss, and an unforgettable final gift. Watch till the end. A few years ago from melanoma. The day he got his diagnosis, he rang me and told me that doctors had given him 6 weeks to live. But what surprised me the most was that he said he was feeling okay. He was trying to stay positive. He only just made it to the 6 weeks. It was truly heartbreaking. He had been happily married to Carol for over 30 years. They were a strong, loving couple, and Jean had always been there for her, just as she had always been there for him. But this diagnosis changed everything. That same day when Jean called me, he was at his father's house. He hadn't told Carol yet, and he sounded so calm about it all. It was hard to believe he was facing something so serious. Only 15 minutes earlier, while he was with his father, his older brother had called to tell their father that he had been diagnosed with brain cancer and only had 2 months left to live. Jean made a dark joke, saying it was a race between the two of them to see who would get to the end first. Jean ended up winning that race, but it was so hard to even think about. Jean decided that the best thing he could do was to get his life in order for Carol and the rest of his family. 2 days later, despite feeling terrible, he came to work to pack up his things and send his final farewell emails to colleagues and friends. His 56th birthday happened to fall around that time, and we decided to get a cake and celebrate, even though it wasn't really a celebration. We all gathered around him, trying to keep things light. He blew out the candles, and one of the girls, a bit flustered, excitedly asked him what he wanted for his birthday. Jean smiled and said, "Very short books," joking even in such a serious time. He was such a funny guy and well-liked by everyone at work. The week before he passed away, Jean called me from his bed. He was still managing to make the best of things. He told me that he was able to get an early payout from his superannuation and that he had paid off the house for his wife. He said he never thought he'd live to see that day. He was so relieved to know that Carol would be taken care of, at least financially. He only just managed to pay it off in time. Jean wasn't just thinking about himself. He was thinking about his family even in the final days. On their 25th wedding anniversary some years before, Jean and Carol were traveling through Europe. He had planned a surprise vow renewal for her, under the guise of just sightseeing and exploring. They visited a church in Venice, and when they walked in, Carol was shocked to find a priest waiting for them. The whole thing had been arranged in secret. This wasn't just any church. It was the same church where Jean's parents had been married over 50 years ago. He had orchestrated the entire thing without her knowing, all the way from Australia, so that they could renew their vows in that special place. It was such a beautiful, meaningful moment in their marriage. But what Jean did for Carol just before he passed was truly remarkable. He left a series of post-it notes hidden around the house. He knew she would eventually find them, even though they might be months or even years down the line. He hid them in places where she wouldn't have the heart to move or clean for a long time, in his hobby room, his clothes, and even his shed. The notes were simple but deeply meaningful. One note read, "Spend the money and enjoy yourself." Another said, "Sell my car. You don't need it." And the last one said, "Move on. I will love you always." Even months after his death, Carol was still finding these notes, and they have become some of her most cherished possessions. They were his final messages to her, his way of letting her know that he would always be with her, even after he was gone. I will always remember Gene as one of the coolest people I ever knew. He told me once that he had no regrets in life. He didn't let the pain or the sadness take away from the love he had for his wife and his family. Even after his passing, he remained connected to Carol through those notes. He left a part of himself behind, a part that she could hold on to. Gene was truly a cool guy, and his funeral was a testament to how loved and respected he was by everyone who knew him.